my name is Lauren Lockwood. I'm the Chief Digital Officer for the City of Boston, and I'm sure that you're thinking, like, digital, why did they invite the government? It's probably the least digital enterprise you could think of. So I'll unpack a little bit what that role is in city government. But I think I wanted to just start by setting a little bit of context. You know, I think a lot of people, when they think of interacting with government, they think of once a year paying their taxes. But you know, I would argue that you know, you come into contact with government much more often than you realize. Whether that's every time you feed a parking meter, every time that you register your car, anytime you make a decision about whether or not to go to a restaurant based off that sanitary rating you see, those are all interactions with government that you might not even think that you're doing. So you know, whether you're trying to figure out when your trash day is or appealing a parking ticket, those interactions tend to suck because they tend to look like this. It's typically something you don't want to be doing, and like, you know, getting a permit, or you know, there is no digital experience for it, and so you typically have to find time to get off work. For a lot of people, they have to go find childcare to get down to City Hall between 9 to 5 and stand in line, do this. And when that interaction is digital, it tends to look something like this. So this is actually a screenshot from our website. So it's not mobile responsive. They use words that you don't understand. Typically the UI doesn't make any sense. So my team basically is a team of designers, developers, product managers, a startup essentially within government to think about, you know, how do we make these interactions not suck? And what happens when they don't? So I've spent the last 2.5 years, really there building out this team, but then also bringing services systematically online. So whether it's like paying your parking ticket, registering your, for a dog license, whatever it may be. And we noticed something interesting. We started collecting feedback once we bring these services online. And we noticed that even when people are doing things that suck, like contesting a parking ticket, when they tend to give us good rankings for ease, clarity, things like that, when we ask them to describe the experience, this is the adjective they use most often. So this is just a few that I pulled from March, and it's over and over again. And so, what you're doing when you're surprising people is really you're planting a seed. So there's this really cool and really rare moment that you get when you really upset someone's expectations in a positive way. It's not usually the way it works, but you get people to question their assumptions about the entity they're interacting with. So it doesn't take you very long interacting with any sort of organization online, and you get a sense for how much they get it or not. If you hit backspace and your whole form gets deleted, like that's really frustrating, and they don't get it. Or if the screenshot I showed you earlier was actually, if your car gets towed, that's the database to look up your license plate. Like, we know when your car gets towed that you are likely pissed off, first of all, and second of all, you are on your mobile device. You're not sitting in front of a desktop computer. That website has to be mobile responsive. There's nothing more frustrating than an entity that doesn't get that. And so when that experience doesn't suck, you do get this opportunity to plant a seed with constituents. And so the opportunity as we see it on my team in City Hall is, when you provide this unexpectedly delightful experience, you have the ability to transform not just somebody saying, oh, that was a lot easier than I expected, but you really change their opinions about working with government in general and thinking like, oh, those people have a pulse, or those people have some smart people behind that software. And that's a really interesting opportunity. And so what we focus on are these kinds of things. How do you create a visual identity that doesn't look so government-y? So we actually recently redesigned boston.gov, so you should check that out if you haven't had to pay a parking ticket or something lately. But that we have brand guidelines that look distinctly ungovernmenty. So one of the pieces of feedback was that the website looks like exactly what you'd expect a government website to look like beforehand. And that's just a really hard thing to hear because it communicates something about how bad the website is, but also people's expectations of it. We use language that disarms users. So we understand that we are government, and so if we say something self-deprecating, it really throws people off. When we say you instead of the citizen or something like that, it really catches people off guard. And so we have this opportunity because people come with so many assumptions about what government is and how bad this experience should be that we get this opportunity to transform it. So how do we go about doing this? We've done a number of things, but the people on my team, myself included, have all come from the private sector. So we take ideas from other industries. It's not just when we go to rethink a process, it's not like, what other cities are doing this well? We certainly ask ourselves that question, but we also think about, what is Airbnb doing? I was actually just looking at like apartment listing websites because I know that they've dumped a ton of money into UI. And so when we look up, when we're trying to figure out like what a lookup tool should look like, I was like, let's go there and see what they've been doing. So a lot of people are familiar with this. I think you're lying if you're not. This is the Domino's pizza tracker. So if you order a pizza from Domino's, you actually get to know, which stage your pizza is in at each stage along the way. We stole that idea. And we ripped it off entirely, shameless, to show people where their permits are in each phase of the process. So we tell you, how long you should expect it to be in each phase, and also the person you can contact with their phone number should it be getting held up. So we're providing transparency, but also an opportunity for people to sort of like take control of the situation. And so in the breakout session, we're going to do something a little bit different. It's not just going to be a conversation. This important way that we get ideas for how to transform government interactions is through you. So we're going to spend some time thinking about some unexpectedly terrific experiences you've had, not just digital, but also in the physical space, and unpack why they were so great. We've done this in a few different settings, and every time it's very different, and we get flooded with ideas for ways we can do things like rip off that pizza tracker. And so the cool thing is, after the discussion that we have, there's a high likelihood that the ideas that come out of that session could get implemented here in the city of Austin. So there is some upside to, to participating as well. So with that, I'll just say, I hope to have a good conversation later.